In one of the tales of Shiv Puran, there was a demon by the name of Bhasmasur, who was booned by Lord Shiva that whenever he will touch anyone, they will turn into ashes. And in today's scenario, those who are illegally occupying our lands are Bhasmasur, and our very ignorance to such act of encroachment will be its boon to turn our forest areas and the future of the indigenous people into ashes. And realizing this simple reality of today's motion, I stand firmly in support of these eviction drives which have emerged as the Mohini avatar of Lord Vishnu, which has not only preserved the forest areas but will also secure the future of indigenous people of Assam. Good afternoon, Honorable Speaker Sir. A very warm good afternoon to the respected members of this House. Speaker Sir, the previous member of the opposition bench has raised a question to us that if these encroachers are criminals, and I'd like to gently answer them that yes, they are criminals, because Section 5 and Section 5A of the Public Premises Eviction of Unauthorized Occupants Act empowers the government to evict such encroachers and unauthorized occupants from public premises. Another member of the opposition bench has asked that if eviction can protect the birthplace of Shrimanta Shankardev, and therefore I'd like to gently answer that eviction drives has protected the birthplace of Shrimanta Shankardev because it was through eviction only through which the government of Assam freed 160 bighas of land belonging to the Botodrava Than, the same Botodrava Than which is known as the birthplace of Neo-Vaishnavite saint and social reformer Shrimanta Shankardev. Speaker Sir, to members of the opposition bench right from the beginning of this House are focusing on the recent eviction drives only, but I'd like to gently remind them that eviction and encroachment is neither new to our state nor new to our land. And as stated in an article published by the Sentinel on 4th September 2025, for decades, incidents of illegal occupation of land have occurred in the state due to various reasons, which includes economic vulnerability, land scarcity, excessive population pressure, and most importantly, rising migration trends, which simply proves one thing to the members of the opposition bench who are claiming that those who are being evicted have been staying here for generations. I'd like to tell them that their very stay in this state has been under the umbrella of falsehood. Moreover, in October 2012, a PIL was filed in the Guwahati High Court by Mrinal Soikia demanding the eviction of illegal immigrants from the Kaziranga National Park. 3 years later, on October 9, 2015, the Guwahati High Court passed an order directing the state to evict such immigrants from the park, which simply proves one thing, that what today we are witnessing as eviction, a decade ago, it started as a step to protect the ecological heritage of Assam. Moving on to one of my most important counters. Most of the members of the opposition bench have been claiming that these eviction drives have been targeted towards one particular community only, and therefore I'd like to gently remind them that in 2022, about 1,000 families belonging to the Garo, Chakma, and the Muslim communities who were illegally occupying 1,400 hectares of land in the Lamding Reserve Forest were made to vacate the land in a phased manner from November 2022 to February 2023 following a High Court order. Speaker Sir, the leader of the Treasury right at the beginning of this House stated that Valentine's Day has becoming a threat to the indigenous people of Assam, but didn't clarify that how boycotting Valentine's Day will preserve our forest areas, which is the livelihood of the indigenous people of this very state. The GSI in its finding confirmed that Assam has a total of 1,400 million tons of limestone. The same report also revealed that Assam is home to 18.29 million tons of iron ore with an average grade of 37.45% Fe. The report also stated that placer gold has been identified in the Subansiri River Basin, and glass sand with high silica content has been recorded in the Nagaon district. So the members of the Treasury must answer one important question, that tomorrow if their land becomes their source of income and if any of us encroaches there, then are they going to evict us or are they going to invite us to continue our encroachment? And if they agree to evict us, then the answer is clear and precise, that eviction of encroachments will preserve the forest areas and secure the future of indigenous people of Assam. Thank you, Honorable Speaker Sir. Thank you, respected members of this House.
Hypocrisy is a silent corruption of truth, where words march into the parades of virtue, where deeds crawl into the gutters of deceit, and elegance of falsehood dressed as principle. Honorable Speaker, sir, before I begin my arguments, I would just like to have certain clarifications from the members of the Treasury today. The members of the Treasury have continuously brought up the term indigenous and have continuously focused upon the Assam Accord and the Assamese people. One of the members of the Treasury even quoted for the sake of the Assamese people. Therefore, my question goes to the members of the Treasury, what are indigenous people according to them? Because Assamese people aren't the only indigenous people of Assam. If that's what the members of the Treasury mean, then they are ignoring the 14 other indigenous group of Assam. Honorable Speaker, one of the members of the Treasury also justified these eviction drives, quoting the Supreme Court case of Olga Tellis versus the Bombay Municipal Corporation of 1985. However, it is very important to mention that the Supreme Court in the judgment said that the right of life according to Article 21 is also the right to livelihood. Therefore, justifying these eviction drives means the members of the Treasury directly eradicates the right of livelihood and the right of life as per Article 21 of the Indian Constitution. Honorable Speaker, sir, now I would like to move on to my arguments. Let us look at the ecological heritage of Assam at present. As per the Global Forest Index, Assam has lost over 73.8 lakh hectares of forest lands in the past 20 years. Therefore, it means that Assam has lost almost 14% of the global forest cover. And this isn't because of this encroachment of these lands. It is because the existing measures which were provided by the government to protect this forest have failed. The Assam Forest Policy of 2004, the Assam Forest Protection Act of 1985 have incredibly failed to address these issues pertaining to the forests of Assam. These acts have failed to mention how the forest suffers from pressure during the climatic changes, and therefore I would request the members of the Treasury to please focus on evolving these acts rather than justifying these eviction drives. Next up, let's look at the Dibru-Saikhwa National Park, which has eroded drastically in the last 5 years due to the unchecked Brahmaputra river dynamics, due to the unchecked erosion and due to the flooding of this natural park. How can the members of the Treasury justify that eviction drives can help in not eroding this national park of Dibru-Saikhwa? How can the members of the Treasury justify that eviction drive alone can make sure that erosion of the Majuli River Satra of the Dibru-Saikhwa National Park doesn't take place anymore? Next up, let's look at the present and the past evictions that have taken place and the impact it has had on Assam. When you look at the state of Dhubri, the evicted lands were actually cleared up and were given to the APDCL to set up power plants worth 3,400 megawatts. Honorable Speaker, sir, it is very important to mention that a power plant worth 50 watt to 100 watt emits 0.8 to 1 million carbon dioxide per year. Imagine the impact a 3,400 megawatts of power plant will have on the ecological heritage of Assam. Imagine the impact of corporations that the Adani Group will set up in the lands of Assam and the impact that they will have on the ecological heritage of Assam. Honorable Speaker, sir, when you look at the Amchang Wildlife Sanctuary, we can see that the wildlife sanctuary has faced a eviction notice back in 2017. The lands were cleared up. However, the barren lands remain barren lands. No such provisions have been provided after years. Therefore, I request the members of the Treasury to focus on improving the current acts, to modify the current acts, to amend the current acts rather than focusing and justifying these eviction drives. At the end, I would just like to say that if the members of the Treasury justifies these eviction drives, then that makes them no better than the great mother Gandhari, who used her boon to make her evil son Duryodhana invincible during the battle of Kurukshetra. With that, I request the House to please take into account the things that I have mentioned. And I would like to say that I do rest my case, but definitely not my cause. Thank you, everyone.